No one can prevent damages on their own. In every step of the design, installation, protection, and maintenance of underground utilities, there are people working diligently and innovatively to reduce damages. All these people need and deserve to have their stories told, which is what we do here at Planet Underground TV. Planet Underground TV is only made possible with the support of our sponsors. Intrend, HBK Engineering, and C-Scan. We also thank our partner at Digging Dangers Videos, Bill Joya, for his assistance with this episode. My name is Mike Perlak, and I am the founder of Planet Underground TV. I've analyzed digging accidents for some time now, and the lessons learned never change. The things that we always come back to are communication, access to information, and an understanding of what everybody's role is in not only the pre-planning of the job, the execution or installation of the job, but also the maintenance of those utility systems over time, and God forbid, when something happens, a proper response. The last moments of tranquility in a small western Illinois community came just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is a story about the proud people of Canton, the little giants with the big hearts. In this episode, we are introducing our correspondent, Nina Wu, and the voice talent of our film specialist, Connor Gavin.
Canton is a small city in western Illinois that was founded in 1825. Due to its proximity to railroads and the Illinois River, as well as having an abundance of coal, Canton quickly established itself as a factory town. By 1919, the Parlin and Orendorff Company, by far the largest employer in town, was sold to the International Harvester Company. In its heyday, the International Harvester Company, or as everyone in town called it, the shop, attracted so many people to work there that it caused the population to swell up to 15,000 people. The shop was no doubt the pulse of Canton's economy and business interests, and it jump-started the development of the downtown area, which has always been known for its quaint beauty. Just as Canton was beginning to flourish, two unfortunate incidents plagued this quiet town. In 1975, one of the worst tornadoes in Illinois history ripped through Canton, destroying everything in its path. The damage to the downtown square was overwhelming, but the resilience of Canton's citizens helped restore the shattered town. Then in 1983, the International Harvester Company was forced to shut down because of a sudden loss in profits. This caused Canton's unemployment rate to soar to double digits. Even worse, 14 years later, the shop was burnt to the ground in a massive arson fire. The inferno burned for 3 days straight and was so big it spread black ash all throughout the city. Cleaning up the fire would take nearly a decade, but the people of Canton once more found a way to get it done. Today, the people of Canton find themselves facing another new challenge: rebuilding their downtown area again after what happened on November 16, 2016, when an excavator hit a gas line.
With pipe and cable installation and repairs happening every day throughout the entire country, it's scary to think how a simple installation job can quickly become a fatal disaster.
It seems we had an explosion uptown. There was a gas leak that they had been looking for earlier today, which I had even drove through and smelt. And now some kind of buildup happened, and one of the automotive places, which is over there, exploded wherever the leak was, and now someone's hurt. Oh, it's that little building. The old salon across the street that was connected to the Opera House is what blew up. That's where that gas was coming from earlier too. Now I see. Jesus Christ almighty. There used to be a building right there, guys. No one got killed, did they?
Not that I know of. I don't know though, but because they've got some that's buried over there, they've got to dig out. Like that guy there that's on the stretcher.
Yeah.
Now. He was buried underneath all of that over there.
Well, we don't even know if anyone's passed away yet.
They had to call more ambulances and stuff in.
Yeah. I'd say this was pretty damn serious. There's where the building used to be. It used to come all the way out to right there where that pole is, and it's gone completely. My God. Mayhem. God, I hope no one died.
Lisa Fahrenbrook was one of the first responders on the scene.
When you arrived at the site, what was your first reaction?
When we first arrived downtown, we were the third ambulance in, and because I responded with 2 other people that were off duty, so we responded to the base, and we went directly to take care of patients. So it was still chaos. I mean, nobody had been cleared out. There was patients. There was gas hissing. So it was still chaos, and nobody, I think, really knew what had happened at that point, other than there was an explosion.
Greg White, pastor at Assembly of God, shared his opinion about excavation jobs.
With these types of excavations happening every day throughout the country, do you think people and companies need to be more cautious of the safety hazards involved in the practices?
When these kind of situations evolve, there are processes that they go through, and I think it would be good if that the people doing the excavating would be are more aware of those processes and follow them. So I think it would be great to have some kind of a campaign, some kind of a media, and it doesn't have to be huge, but just a reminder of people to be aware of their surroundings.
Despite the tragedy that happened 7 months ago, folks in Canton came out for the reopening ceremony of the downtown square, where they showed support to local businesses and anyone who was affected by the explosion. 2 state senators cut the ribbon, and people eagerly went out to shop at the local businesses. We got to talk to Shirley Franzoni, a beloved business owner of the Crow Hollow and Kinsley's Closet. Her business is over a block away from the Opera House, and the explosion still managed to blow her storefront windows out. She didn't even know what to think when she heard the loud crash from inside of her shop.
So you said you were here at the time of the explosion. Can you tell me what you were doing and what went on in your mind at the time of the explosion?
Yeah, absolutely. We were downstairs. I was in a meeting with about 3 women, and I have a huge video camera. And at the time, I heard this big, huge crash. I looked up and saw debris flying all over on the video camera upstairs, and I actually thought that some vehicle had hit our building. That was my first instinct. And when I came up and walked outside and the glass was still falling out of the window frames, I looked around on the square with sirens was up immediately. People were running. It was just very, very chaotic at that particular moment.
My daughter's the director of the chamber, and her office was in the opera building, so I was texting my husband telling him he needed to get a hold of her so that I could respond and not, so I would know that it wasn't her. That emotion kind of, scared responding, but I mean, as far as the response, you kind of just get into a mode of doing what you have to do, and then afterwards it was, it's scary, sad. I mean, Canton's been through a lot.
Amanda Ashley is a member of the Chamber of Commerce in Canton, and she says that business has definitely struggled since the explosion.
How did the disaster impact the community and even you personally?
It was a huge blow to our community, our downtown. A lot of our businesses are still struggling, people not knowing that they're open. It happened during the holiday season, which is their busiest time of year, so they're just struggling to keep going. Luckily, a lot of them are opened. There's only 2 that have not been able to open currently, but they still have plans to do so.
Ken Ham has owned his antique store in downtown Canton for over 50 years, and he says the explosion has dramatically hurt his business.
A couple of buildings have been lost. One life was lost and several people were hurt. So, that was a major impact of itself. But it also impacted our business, the actual business. My business has been down since the explosion by about 50 or 60%. The reason we had this grand reopening was to make sure everybody knew that almost all the stores have been back open and up and running for quite some time now.
It was a little bit challenging just coordinating everything with repairs and waiting on those repairs to be happening. It was cold during those times, so challenge insulating everything and then keeping the classes going.
Nathan Taylor opened a yoga studio about 6 doors down from the Opera House. He explained to us how he is trying to get his new business up and running and how the explosion didn't help with that.
We're almost 2 years I've been there, so when you start a business, the first 2 to 5 years are challenging in itself to keep it afloat and running well, so just a little bit more of an added stress, but really it's just making way for better things to come, right?
That was the attitude of everyone in Canton. It only makes us stronger. From the night of the explosion to 7 months later, the people of Canton never lost hope. The citizens of Canton are no strangers to adversity. And whether it's a tornado, a factory fire, or a gas explosion, they've managed to remain positive and never lose faith in themselves. There's not many towns today that would come together like Canton has. And that is something truly special.
The day that the explosion happened, I was here. And I came outside and saw all the devastation. I started an online live feed. Lots of people were coming down. I actually asked for help that night. We had glass all over, debris was flying everywhere. And when I went in to get my broom to come out and clean up the mess, we had 40 volunteers out here. The community rallied around us. They were bringing us coffee. They were bringing us something to drink. They were bringing down brooms. And it was just absolutely incredible that during the disaster, something good, the community rallied around.
People that have come down here, they said it's okay to be out in front of our building doing this. We wouldn't have done it if it wasn't safe. I can't thank the residents in Canton who've come out and helped us with this. This is just absolutely incredible. It shows how things work.
Is there anything else that you would like to say about what happened or your personal experience?
Just one thing. My wife and I have lived here for 8 years, and this has been a wonderful community to live in. And to see, you don't want to go through tragedy, but to see the resilience in the people in this community, it's given us pride to know these people and to see how they have responded to that and have come back. And that's a beautiful story.
I mean, Canton has struggled anyway, so I think people were a little afraid that it was going to ruin our downtown, and instead I think it's actually strengthened it. I've seen business owners just come together. In February afterwards, business owners started donating things just to give away to people randomly. They did a live Facebook thing, and so it's really brought out, I think, the best in people. It's just made me proud of this city. I mean, just, glad to be here. Glad to say I grew up here and I will die here.
When a gas line is struck, the hole in the pipe is not the bad thing. Where the gas has gone is the bad thing. And the proper response is always going to be people first, including yourselves, then property, and lastly, fixing that leak, finding the hole in the pipe. And when gas gets in a confined area, it needs, on the minimum side, 5% gas and air to be explosive. On the maximum side, 15%. So that explosive range, 5 to 15%, is what's needed to have an explosion like you see in Canton. You see in the addition to the Opera building that building came out right to the sidewalk. Now there was potholing on this job, but there wasn't all the potholing that the driller needed to ensure their safety and the safety of others. The Canton explosion occurred when a small mom-and-pop subcontractor hit a gas pipe while boring in a conduit for a local telecom company offering Canton gigabit fast internet. This type of underground utility construction is occurring across the country, and during these projects, gas lines are struck with alarming frequency. What's worrisome is that these fiber builds are increasing in number. If we turn back the hands of time, there is little doubt that the Canton damage could have been prevented. We welcome Matt Turk, a long-serving operations executive with the utility contracting firm Intrin, to our studio. So, do all of your customers, and I'm assuming they do, but I know not all your customers are exactly the same, right? Customers are like people. We're all different. But do they hold you accountable for damage prevention in a big way?
They do. So that and I've seen it in my 29 years in the industry, without question, they have shifted that expectation. The bar has been raised. Mm-hmm. So that on every contractor coming in, error-free performance would be the baseline expectation. Mm-hmm. So they are expecting you to come in and have no customer complaints, no injuries, and you will not cause an outage that's unplanned, right? Okay. So that is definitely right there in contracts with penalties. But the rules to dig by were, what's the basic piece that we have to follow to dig safely? So have a one-call ticket, a valid one-call ticket. I'm digging within that ticket. I'm potholing. I'm not using power tools within 18 inches of the locate. I verify first before I can open that pit up. Mm-hmm. So a different piece like that are really best practices that I can say, if I follow these, it's going to lessen the chance of any damage. Yeah.
Matt, does Intrin ever use subcontractors for boring jobs?
We do. So, we look at capacity. So in terms of time frame with work, we have a vetting process and an onboarding process for our subs.
Okay.
So they have to go through our contracts group and our safety group. So we look at their safety record, their performance, their operating guidelines. They have to go through our onboarding so that when they come to work for us, they have to follow our rules to dig by. And then we would have a liaison with them that's out with that sub crew, because it's us, it's our contract. Have we seen that? We went on a contract last year, 1 year with 40 drills and did not have an at fault on our electric, but our subs did.
Yeah.
And so you go, okay, what happened? Weren't we training them right? And not knocking them, but so you really have to adhere to those rules to dig by and the preparation rules that we put in place.
You have, in all likelihood, a pretty diverse group of drillers out there. And you probably have, on the one hand, drillers that do things to greatly, if not entirely, eliminate damage. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you probably have those that aren't as good.
Right.
But as an industry leader in utility construction, do you feel that the performance of even those on the opposite end of the spectrum, that those drillers ultimately affects you and your relationship with your customers?
Without question, because the damages caused by drilling are devastating. When you hit something with the drill, you don't know it. And it can seep, especially gas, right? It's going to migrate, or if it's electric, you're going through a sewer line and you put that link, the power through there and you don't know it, and then a homeowner roto-roots, you could kill somebody. So without question, the bad performers affect us.
Well, Matt, I want to show you a few pictures here, and you've not seen these.
No.
I'd just like to get your comments on what you see. And I'm going to begin with this one right here. You work in a lot of urban areas where what you see right there is pretty common. Building goes right out to the sidewalk.
It is, and it's all concrete, and there's no nice dirt to dig in, right? And pothole. You got that right.
Yeah, and what if a gas line was right underneath that sidewalk, right where that building juts out?
And you talked about, so a lot of these, when you go into the villages, it's to understand their rules, what's their permitting, what's their expectation. So then we would always give that village, here's the plan. And then once that is located, what's their rules to take that sidewalk out? Typically they want, cut point to cut point, take the slabs out, but a lot easier digging in dirt, right, the pothole. But you can't take a shortcut here. Each of those buildings are being fed. Water, the gas could be sewer, so yeah, definite challenge.
Okay, well, this is a pre-explosion picture in Canton, Illinois. The explosion occurred November 16th of 2016.
Yes.
And you see where that building was in this picture.
Yeah, that was a devastating one. Without question, we're not quite sure, obviously the details here, but we would never bore under a building. It wouldn't be permissible. But even what's out in that street, as you're boring by, you got to find it. You just have to find it. It's got to be in your job plan, and this one was extremely devastating.
A plane crashes. We know for a fact that the federal government gets as much information to all the other airlines, to all the airplane manufacturers, as quickly as it's known in a crash investigation. And the reason is obvious, because those planes are still in the air and people are still flying. In Canton, within 24 hours of the explosion, the National Transportation Safety Board came in and took over the investigation, placing a gag order on all the parties to this excavation. So, the contractor hit the pipe. The customer that the contractor was working for. The customer that the master contractor was working for, telecom company, the city of Canton, regulatory people within the state of Illinois. All are bound by an NTSB gag order. Yet, all along, from this very moment of the explosion, boring continues. Broadband internet jobs continue. Emergency responders continue to respond to damaged utility lines to broken gas lines. And none of those people can learn right now from what happened in Canton. And that's a shame. The people of Canton suffered the effects of damage prevention gone wrong. I feel that capturing the story of Canton citizens 6 months after the explosion in a video feature may prevent similar events from occurring elsewhere. The Canton explosion occurred approximately an hour and 45 minutes after the gas line was hit. One gas company worker was killed and 11 others injured. Among the injured were 3 gas company workers and a contract locator. I didn't want this episode to be all about the digging accident or the response to the gas leak. It makes no sense to focus on the small subcontractor that went out of business after the explosion. I wanted to focus on the people of Canton, as they are the ones that have paid a heavy price for damage prevention gone wrong. But for the purposes of utility worker and contractor safety, as well as public safety, Canton's story is one that needs to be seen and heard by every utility designer, utility worker, utility contractor, and municipal rights-of-way officials throughout the country. Everyone in our industry needs to be Canton strong.
We are not defined by the tragedies that hit us. What we're defined by is the comeback that we make from those tragedies. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a comeback for the ages.
Planet Underground once more thanks. Intrend, HBK Engineering, and C-Scan.